My name is Phyllis Smith, and I was 32 years old when I finally understood that my place in my family had never been a place at all, just a temporary position, assigned when convenient and erased when it wasn't. It happened at my sister's baby shower. They seated me near the bathroom, not metaphorically, not emotionally, physically. "You're at table 7, the event coordinator whispered as she handed me a folded place card. Her smile was apologetic, the kind people use when they know something is wrong but don't feel authorized to fix it. She didn't meet my eyes. The card was small, cream-colored, neatly printed, additional guest. I stared at it for a moment, certain I'd misread it. Then I looked up. The room was exactly how my sister had wanted it. Soft earth tones, fake greenery draped along the walls, pastel balloons hovering near the ceiling. A glittering banner spelled, "Welcome, baby," in looping gold letters. Music hummed gently in the background. Laughter floated from table to table. There were 8 tables total. 7 of them formed a perfect semicircle around the main table. The cake table, really, where my sister would sit opening gifts like a queen holding court. And then there was table 7, mine. Shoved into the corner near the kitchen hallway, directly beside the restroom door. I walked toward it slowly, my heels clicking softly against the floor. The chair creaked when I sat down, its thin satin cover barely disguising the metal frame underneath. From where I was seated, I could smell bleach. Every few minutes, the bathroom door swung open behind me, releasing a cloud of harsh floral spray that burned my throat. I swallowed and glanced toward the main table. My parents were already seated. My mother looked flawless, hair perfectly set, mimosa flute in hand. My father laughed at something Aunt Teresa said. My cousin Leia leaned in close, already taking photos. And in the seat that, according to the seating chart I had personally designed, was supposed to be mine, sat Daniel, my sister's husband of 6 months. For a moment, I genuinely thought I was mistaken. I had helped plan this entire event. I remembered the chart clearly. I remembered clicking and dragging names late at night, double-checking spacing, making sure immediate family sat together. My eyes found my mother's across the room. She noticed me then. She smiled, raised her glass slightly, and mouthed, "He's family now." I didn't respond. I just looked back down at the card in my hand. Additional guest. I'd spent 3 full days baking cookies for the favor bags. I'd helped design the invitations, coordinated a cake order, and paid the catering deposit when my parents hesitated. I'd even brought a gift, one I hadn't planned on announcing. Tucked discreetly beneath the cake table was a white box containing a check for $6,000. $6,000. Not for show, not for applause. For diapers, formula, rent. The first few months of their new life. I told myself it was love, support, family, but sitting there, with the bathroom door swinging open behind me, something inside my chest shifted, not loudly, quietly. Like a thread snapping after being pulled too tight for too long. I stood up slowly, smoothed my dress, and walked toward the cake table. No one looked up. No one noticed. I nudged the box further underneath, tucking it deeper into the shadows where it wouldn't be seen. Then I walked out. The music faded behind me as the door closed. I didn't look back. An hour later, my phone vibrated across my kitchen counter. A voicemail. It was my sister. "Hey, where's your gift? Everyone's asking. You didn't even say goodbye. That was kind of rude, honestly." I stared at the screen, listening to her voice again. No concern, no confusion, just expectation. I replied with a single text. Already taken care of. By 6:43 p.m., my father had called me 11 times. "You've always been extra," his last voicemail said. "Overly sensitive." I stood there in my kitchen, still wearing my dress, heels kicked off near the door. The silence felt heavy, but clean, like a room after something fragile has shattered and the dust hasn't settled yet. 2 years earlier, my mother had said something similar. "It's just a seat, Phyllis. Why do you always make things about you?" That was when I first started realizing my place in this family had never been secure. I was always there, but never in. It had started small. When we were kids, my younger sister, 4 years younger, was always the golden one. She got her first car at 16. I took the bus until I was 23. When I asked why, my mom smiled and said, "You're responsible. She needs more support." That sentence followed me into adulthood. When my sister dropped out of college the second time, I helped her apply to massage therapy school. I paid the application fee, helped write her essay. She dropped out of that too. When her first marriage ended, after her ex drained her credit cards and moved out with her best friend, I picked her up at 2 a.m. while she cried in the passenger seat. She stayed with me for 4 months. She never once said thank you. Still, I helped. The pregnancy came fast. She and Daniel had been together maybe 6 months. The wedding was rushed, a courthouse ceremony and a family dinner afterward. I paid for that dinner. No one asked me to. But my sister called me a saint for offering. It was one of the only times she'd ever complimented me in public. I remember thinking, maybe things are changing. They weren't. Planning the baby shower was supposed to be our thing. She called me constantly. Registry questions, theme ideas, color palettes. Boho safari, she decided. Earth tones and fake greenery everywhere. I offered to host it at my place. My mom vetoed that immediately. "We already booked the venue," she said. They hadn't. Still, I showed up. Planning meetings, design drafts, deposits. No drama, no expectations. I didn't need applause, but I also didn't expect to be seated by the bathroom. That detail haunted me more than it should have. I replayed the seating chart in my head over and over. There had been a list. My sister and I had reviewed it together. I was supposed to be at table 1. Mom, Dad, Aunt Teresa, my sister's best friend, me. Daniel had told us the week before that he hated big social events. And yet there he was, laughing, raising a glass during the toasts, his hand resting on my sister's belly like a proud father in a commercial. I had never seen my mother look at me the way she looked at him that day. Proud, soft, certain. I don't think she'd smiled at me like that since my college graduation. She hadn't even attended that. Standing alone in my kitchen that night, I finally let myself think the question I'd buried for years. Why do I keep doing this? And for the first time, I didn't rush to answer it. If the baby shower was the moment something cracked, the days that followed were when everything I'd been holding together finally started to come apart. I didn't go anywhere the next day. I stayed inside, curtains half drawn, phone face down on the kitchen counter like a live wire I didn't want to touch. Even without looking, I knew what was there. Calls, voicemails, texts layered with accusation and disappointment, all wrapped in the familiar language of family concern. By noon, the guilt arrived right on schedule. A voicemail from my sister. "People keep asking about the gift, Phyllis. You really put me in a bad position." Then my mother. "I don't know what you think you're proving, but this little stunt isn't cute." 6 missed calls from my father, 3 from Daniel. A text from Aunt Teresa. "Honey, what's going on?" I didn't answer any of them. Instead, I sat on the edge of my couch and stared at the wall, letting memories surface one by one, uninvited but impossible to ignore now that I'd finally stopped pushing them away. I'd always been the reliable one, the steady one, the daughter who didn't need reminders or rescuing. And somehow that had turned into an unspoken agreement. Because I could handle things, I should. When my sister was 16, Dad surprised her with a used sedan for her birthday. Red, stick shift. She cried when she saw it. I stood there smiling, clapping along, telling myself it was fine. I took the bus to work until I was 23. When I asked why things had been different, Mom laughed like I'd told a joke. "You're responsible," she said. "She's not. She needs more support." Support. That word followed me everywhere. When my sister dropped out of college the first time, my parents were worried. The second time, they were resigned. By the third, they were exhausted. I was the solution. I helped her fill out applications for massage therapy school, paid the fees, sat with her at my dining table while she complained about deadlines and instructors who didn't get her. I absorbed the disappointment for everyone. When her first marriage collapsed, her ex draining her accounts and disappearing with her best friend, I got a call at 2 a.m. "I don't know where else to go," she sobbed. I picked her up without hesitation, let her stay with me for 4 months, bought groceries, covered utilities, gave her space to fall apart. She never said thank you. I told myself she didn't need to. Family didn't keep score, but the score was always there. The pregnancy announcement came fast. She and Daniel had barely been together 6 months. The wedding was rushed, a courthouse ceremony followed by a small family dinner. I paid for that dinner. No one asked me to, but when I offered, my sister hugged me tightly and called me a saint. The word landed heavier than she realized. I remember driving home that night thinking, maybe this is different. Maybe she finally sees me. She didn't. The baby shower planning started almost immediately. Calls every other day. Registry links, theme boards, color palettes. Boho safari, she decided. Earthy, but cute. I offered to host it at my house. My mom shut that down without discussion. We already booked the venue. They hadn't. I knew they hadn't. Still, I showed up, planning meetings, invitation designs, vendor calls. When my parents hesitated over the catering deposit, I paid it myself. No fuss, no announcement. And then there was the money. The hints had started early. "Things are tight now that Daniel lost his contract," my sister would say casually. My mom would sigh. "It's hard starting out with a baby. If only she had a little cushion." I knew what they were saying without saying it. So I cashed out my short-term CD. The one I'd been saving for an Italy trip I'd been promising myself for years. Just once, I'd thought, I'll do something for me. Instead, I wrote a check for $6,000, and they sat me by the bathroom. The realization settled slowly, like something heavy sinking to the bottom of a lake. I wasn't angry yet. I was clear. That evening, as the phone kept buzzing, I finally flipped it over and read the messages. The tone shifted quickly, from concern to irritation to blame. "You embarrassed your sister," my dad texted. "Why do you always do this?" my mom wrote. Daniel's message was short. "I didn't know about the seating thing. I'm sorry." I didn't respond. Monday afternoon, there was a knock at my door. Not a call, not a text. A knock. I knew who it was before I opened it. My mother stood there, posture perfect, hair immaculate, wearing the same tight smile she'd used on me my entire life. The one that said, "I'm calm, so you're the problem." "I've been calling," she said, like I owed her an apology. "I know," I replied, closing the door. She turned to face me, hands on her hips. "What exactly was that display at the shower?" I didn't answer right away. "Do you have any idea how embarrassing that was for your sister?" she continued. "She cried for hours. Your father is furious. Daniel was blindsided. And frankly, so was I." "Blindsided?" I asked quietly. "You put me by the bathroom." She blinked. Just once. "It was the only seat left." "No," I said, "it wasn't. You gave Daniel my seat, the one labeled immediate family." Her expression hardened. "He is immediate family now. He's her husband. That's how this works." "Then why am I only family when I'm paying for something?" I asked. She sighed dramatically. "Why are you being so dramatic over a chair?" I let out a short, bitter laugh. "It's not about the chair," I said. "It's about how I'm only included when I'm useful." She rolled her eyes. "Oh God, not this again." "Yes," I said, "this again." I started listing things then, calmly, methodically. The moving truck, the divorce consultation, groceries, gas, wedding expenses, your hotel, the honeymoon, the baby shower. "You offered," she said sharply. "I always offer," I snapped, "because no one else will." Her arms crossed. "You're being selfish." The word hit harder than I expected. "Selfish?" I repeated. "For finally saying no?" She shook her head. "Family doesn't act like this. Storming out, silent treatment, making everything about you." I stepped back, feeling something steady settle in my chest. Family doesn't treat you like a utility, I said. They don't drain you dry and then act surprised when you stop bleeding. She went quiet. And then she said the sentence that finally broke whatever hope I'd still been holding on to. You should have been grateful to be invited, she said. Your sister didn't even want you included at first. The room felt suddenly very still. I didn't argue. I walked to the counter and handed her a copy of the check. It was never cashed, I said. I canceled it the next morning. Her face drained of color. She's going to be furious. I'm counting on it, I replied. She stared at me like she didn't recognize me anymore. You're cutting off your family over a chair? She asked. No, I said, opening the door. I'm cutting off my family because it's the 100th chair. She hesitated at the threshold. What will people think? Whatever you tell them, I said. I don't care anymore. As she walked away, she turned back once. She's going to call. I know, I said. I won't answer. And for the first time in my life, I meant it. The silence that followed felt unfamiliar, wide, almost weightless. For years, silence had meant punishment, withdrawal, waiting to be forgiven. But this was different. This silence didn't press in on me. It gave me room to breathe. No calls that night, no messages, nothing. It was so quiet, I kept reaching for my phone out of habit, just to confirm it was real. Thursday morning, a text finally came through. Daniel. I didn't know about the seating change, it read. I swear, I found the check under the cake table. I never told her about it. I just wanted you to know I'm sorry. I stared at the message longer than I meant to. It wasn't absolution. It didn't undo anything. But it mattered. It confirmed what I'd already suspected, that the cruelty had been quiet, intentional, and handled by the people who knew me best. I didn't reply. An hour later, my sister called. I let it ring. She left a voicemail. You canceled the check? After everything I've done for you? Grow up, Phyllis. I deleted it without listening again. That afternoon, my father called. I answered. You really left the shower, he said, skipping hello. Your sister was humiliated. Everyone's talking. Let them, I said. You're part of this family, he insisted. You don't just walk away. I was part of it, I replied. Now I'm choosing myself. He hesitated. Your mother says you're being unfair. Did she tell you what she said to me? I asked. A pause. She didn't mean it the way you took it. Yes, I said softly. She did. He went quiet. The silence stretched, thick and uncomfortable. We'll talk later, he finally said. We didn't. 2 days passed. Then a message appeared in the family group chat. Aunt Teresa. I saw where you were seated, she wrote. It wasn't right. I'm sorry I didn't speak up. That was it. No grand defense, no confrontation, just acknowledgement. A few others reached out privately. Old photos, small memories, apologies whispered instead of announced. By the end of the week, I blocked my sister's number. It felt final. It also felt right. Her messages had followed a predictable pattern. Guilt, then anger, then silence. When none of it worked, she stopped trying. And for the first time, I didn't chase her. Instead, I started doing things I'd postponed for years. I called Melissa and said yes to the weekend trip I'd always had an excuse to avoid. I signed up for the writing class I'd kept skipping, just in case. I reopened the Italy folder on my laptop and started planning again, not as a someday dream, but as a promise. I gave myself permission to be a person, not a wallet, not a fixer, just me. 3 weeks later, Daniel texted again. She found the canceled check, he wrote. She lost it. Accused me of taking your side. I told her what she did was cruel. I think we're separating. I just wanted to say thank you for the honeymoon and for opening my eyes. I put the phone down and sat there for a long time. I didn't feel victorious. I felt released. No more leash. No more anxiety disguised as loyalty. Just quiet. 3 months passed. Healing months. The kind of silence that restores instead of suffocates. I learned how much of my life had been shaped by guilt. How often I'd said yes out of fear of being left out, replaced, forgotten. But once you stop trying to earn love that's never freely given, something else takes its place. Freedom. Now my days are slower, my calendar lighter. I spend time with people who actually see me. Friends, kind coworkers, a cousin I had coffee with last week, someone who asked how I was and waited for the answer. I'm not angry, not even at my sister. I'm just done. That isn't bitterness. It's clarity. She never apologized. I didn't expect her to. My mother hasn't called. My father sent a generic card. I didn't reply, not out of spite, but because the version of me they relied on no longer exists. Sometimes I think back to that folding chair by the bathroom, the little place card that read additional guest, and honestly, that label was accurate. I was there out of obligation, tolerated, not included, expected to give without being seen. But I see myself now. I'm not a backup, not a sponsor, not a guest in my own life. And I don't regret walking out. That moment, the quiet one, the humiliating one, was the beginning of everything I'd been too afraid to claim. My space, my voice, my freedom. The strange thing about cutting someone off isn't the loss. It's the quiet. No explosions, no dramatic apologies, just absence. At first, I kept expecting something big to happen. One last confrontation, a tearful confession, some moment that would validate the years I'd spent being patient, generous, available. It never came. Instead, life simply kept going. The family group chat went dormant. My sister never tried calling from another number. My mother didn't show up again, didn't send messages pretending nothing had happened. My father's generic card arrived in the mail a week later. Thinking of you. No return address, no invitation to respond. I set it on the counter and let it sit there until the edges curled. I didn't feel angry. I felt finished. That realization surprised me more than the conflict ever had. I'd always assumed distance would hurt, that I'd wake up aching, missing them, questioning myself. But the ache never came. What came instead was space. Without the constant pressure to anticipate everyone else's needs, my mind felt lighter, quieter. I slept through the night for the first time in years. I stopped flinching every time my phone buzzed. I started noticing how much energy I'd spent bracing for disappointment and how peaceful it was not to. A month later, I booked the Italy trip. Not tentatively, not refundable. I chose the flights, the hotels. I circled dates on my calendar in ink. It felt radical. I told a coworker about it over lunch, half expecting judgment. Instead, she smiled and said, "You deserve that." I almost cried right there in the break room. I kept going to the writing class. At first, I barely spoke. I listened. I wrote quietly, letting words spill out without editing them into something acceptable. One night, the instructor asked if I wanted to share. I said no. And no one pushed. That was new too. Every now and then, a memory would surface. Christmas mornings, shared bedrooms, inside jokes from years ago. The good moments hadn't vanished just because the bad ones finally outweighed them. I let myself hold both, but I stopped letting nostalgia rewrite reality. 2 months after the baby shower, Aunt Teresa invited me for coffee. Just the two of us. No agenda, no updates disguised as concern. I should have said something that day, she told me. I saw the seating. Everyone did. I know, I said. And you still left quietly, she added. That took strength. No one had ever framed it that way before. Strength. Not drama, not selfishness, strength. When I got home that afternoon, I thought again about the chair, the cheap satin cover, the creaking metal legs, the smell of bleach and artificial flowers, the tiny place card that had labeled me additional guest. For years, I'd believed that being included anywhere was enough, that proximity equaled belonging, that if I stayed helpful, stayed generous, stayed quiet, Eventually, I'd earn my way in. But love doesn't work like that. Real love doesn't make you audition. I don't hate my sister. I don't hate my parents either. I just stopped offering myself up to be used in the hope that one day it would turn into appreciation. Sometimes people don't change, not because you didn't explain yourself clearly enough, but because the version of you that benefits them is the one they prefer. And when you step out of that role, they don't chase you, they replace you. That used to terrify me. Now, it doesn't. Because I replaced myself too, with someone who rests, who chooses, who walks away when something feels wrong instead of shrinking to make it fit. I don't know what my sister tells people now. I don't ask. I don't correct the story. I don't need to. I know the truth. I was never asking for a throne at that baby shower. I was asking not to be hidden. And when they showed me exactly how little space they were willing to give me, I finally believed them. Walking out wasn't an overreaction. It was a beginning. The moment I stopped being an extra in my own life. And I don't miss the version of me who stayed seated.